Yeah, I was going on Schizo Jits here, talking UFC, Austin, Texas, recap, amazing card, banger, a lot of finishes, crazy fights. A couple jujitsu guys got slammed on the side of their face and knocked out. Crazy. I don't want to say jujitsu's dead, but a lot of people are canceling their memberships this Monday. But yeah, there was a couple of crazy fights, a lot of results that just unbelievable night of fights. I'll just put it at that. I'll just get right into it. I'll just talk about the notable fights. Like I said, what was it? Jakar Close, Joe Solecki. I mean, amazing slam. Jakar Close, you could tell he was going. Joe Solecki, it went to the ground. Solecki had a busy guard. He went for an armbar earlier in the sequence. Jakar, you could tell, did pick him up in a little quick slam. He didn't really get his legs under him as much to pick him up to slam him, get him a little higher up. But he did get a slam, and then Solecki, he had good hips. He wrapped the leg, he threw his leg over for the armbar, clear the head, and Solecki, Jakar Close ended up getting his legs underneath him a little better that time. Picks him up, slams him sideways on the side of his head, just hits the mat, boom, and lights out, knocks him out cold. We haven't seen that since like Rampage Jackson days, Ricardo Arona with his epic, power bomb slam knockout that he had. So I mean, this was just another one of those. He didn't get as much lift as Rampage, but man, you hear that mat, when the Joe Solecki's face, the side of his face, right on the temple, hits the ear, everything right on the mat, and knocks him out cold. Didn't know where he was at. Unbelievable. Definitely have to get a bonus to Jakar Close for that one. Unbelievable knockout. I mean, like I said, that's something you just don't see every day. Maybe once every 10 years or something. And we had two in one night, almost back to back, I think it was. We had Zachary Reese and Cody Brundage, almost the same exact situation. You could tell Cody Brundage tried to position his legs to get, so he could use his legs for the lift. Zachary actually was throwing a triangle on him on that time. And so it was a little more similar to the Rampage slam because Rona had a triangle on him. But Brundage picks him up, slams him, a couple finishing punches, fight's done, over. So, I mean, those are two guys who just back to back, not to say wrestling trumps jiu-jitsu, but this card kind of proved, it wasn't a good representation of jiu-jitsu other than later in the night with a couple submissions and stuff like that. But man, that was brutal. Those are two brutal knockouts, especially the Jakar Close. That was brutal. That was brutality right there. Fatality. Unbelievable. Definitely. And I can't remember who he called out. He said he didn't care. He wants the easiest fight. He said it was kind of funny on the call out. Then we had the return of Misha Tate, who hasn't looked good. She hadn't won a fight in 10 years. Basically dominates from beginning to end Julia Avila with her wrestling. One thing Misha always had was pretty good wrestling, really good wrestling, high school background, and just that pace that she could put on people when she was on it. And she was focused. She was lasered in on that takedown, really didn't mess around with the stand-up at all. It was rinse, repeat for the first 2.5 rounds until she got the finish. She was just dominating, always a step ahead of Avila, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt. And on the feet, maybe she just felt that danger, didn't even want to go there. But Misha Tate totally dominated, and it was nice to see her back on the win column. Gets a kind of a neck crank / rear naked choke in the third round to finish things off. And like I said, great to see her back in the win column, see what's next for her. It just kind of puts her right back in there because women's fighting is slim. She has a name. So, I mean, maybe she, there's rumors of her maybe in Ronda and UFC 300. I don't know how true they are. 15 million supposedly for Ronda. I mean, I don't even know how true that is. Ronda already beat her a couple of times, so maybe that could be a fight that Ronda would want to come back to. But I don't know. She's been retired for a long time, doing the WWE thing. So who knows with that. But on the main card, we had Puna Soriano and Dustin Stoltzfus. That was a fight that I called Puni to win. Puna, but he ended up losing that one. I mean, he started off strong, little left hand heavy attacks. Dustin came in and started countering those lefts and throwing a lot of body kicks and low kicks, and then he ended up dropping Puna right at the end of the first round to maybe steal that round, and then he gets to finish himself with the choke. So I mean, there was a tap one up for jiu-jitsu on that one. The last two that I talked about, and then we had Sean Brady and Calvin Gastelum, which I called Gastelum the win, but on a slim margin. And I really did not think Sean Brady would be able to do what he did to Gastelum, basically take him down and be a step ahead and take his back and put him in danger throughout the fight. I mean, it was basically like rinse repeat. Really, like there wasn't much stand up there. Calvin landed a couple nice punches on the feet. He always has good boxing, good head movement, good in and out. And I noticed that his footwork was a little off. You know, he did look like good, like, you know, at 170, but maybe his power wasn't there. That could be due to the weight cut. That extra 15 pounds could zap your power. A lot of people think, all these bigger guys, you're going to go down. You're automatically going to have that power advantage, but that's not always the case because you actually lose a lot of energy, lose muscle mass, and sometimes you need that just to be stronger. Seems like guys that move up in weight have a little bit more success with that than because they're healthier than when you're cutting weight. It drains you a little. You know, that's just facts like from history, you know, boxing, any combat sports. But yeah, Sean Brady did his thing. I mean, he took Calvin Gastelum down at will. I seen a couple like stance switches from Gastelum. He kind of went like, he went to southpaw at just a bad time, you know, and Sean Brady just ended up right back on top, taking him down, taking his back, eventually getting a third round Kimura. You know, he just had a good position, had his leg over the head, and just basically had him face down and had his arm and Calvin Gastelum, you know, he got submitted. And like I said, I was wrong on this fight. I kind of felt like Gastelum, it might be the other way around, but because Gastelum he was a high school champ wrestler in Arizona, you know, state champ, and also 10th Planet black belt. I mean, and he's got some good hands and kicks, but Brady he showed out in this fight. A lot thick, just savage. You know, he just has a more symmetrical body, I think, too, just for that weight, like big legs, just really symmetrical. And yeah, he just did what he wanted with Gastelum, which I was surprised. And that just leads me to the question, like, how good is Bilal Muhammad? Because Bilal Muhammad dominated Brady when they fought and TKO'd him, you know, like, so that's a guy who's even, I think he tweeted something like, yeah, I thought Sean Brady sucked. You know, I don't know if he was being serious, like he thought he sucked, or what overall MMA media is thinking, like Brady wasn't as good because they're trying to take away from his win, you know, so I mean, I want to see Bilal Muhammad in a title picture in the next fight after this Kobe Edwards fight we got in December. I think he has to be next in line. I mean, he's on a good run. He had a controversial finish against Edwards when they fought, eye poke. He was getting pieced up in that first round, but he's definitely leveled up his game, training in Russia with the Dagestanis for a good month or two before the Sean Brady camp. And I think he just took a lot of that mindset and just everything, just savagery, you know, that training with those savages and just coming out just even that much more focused and good. You know, that's something you can learn with the discipline that they have and take it back with you. So that's a fight that needs to happen, I think, because this just actually upped Bilal Muhammad's stock, seeing what Brady did to Gastelum as well. As far as Brady, obviously, too, you know, Sean Brady, I mean, he's going to have to get another top opponent coming up. But yeah, for sure, that was a surprising fight for me in some regards, because I think a lot of people thought if Calvin Gastelum's at 170, he's going to be champ, or he's going to be tearing up everyone because he was a little too small for 185. But I mean, this just shows that when you do go down and drain yourself that much more, he's getting older in age a little bit. He's not old, but you know, he started really young as well. I think he was an Ultimate Fighter like 19 years old. So this is definitely it takes its toll, especially when you start cutting weight later on in your career. I mean, like I said in the previous video, I think he'd be good at 175 or something like that. You know, like 170, that extra 5 pounds might be too much. We don't have that division, you know, but if we had 55, 65, 175, 85, we did all those, then maybe jump up to 205. I get that, you know, because just the talent and just the bodies, you know, a lot of people don't fight in the 195 range, you know, so. But that's something that we, you know, gotta wait and see as the UFC ever expanding UFC roster keeps going. Maybe they might have to create more weight classes in the future that could benefit somebody like a Gastelum or whatever, even like a Kobe, maybe like 175-ish, you know, or 165. I think he could be good at that because he could probably cut 5 more pounds, you know, cut much. That brings us to the Rob Font, Davison Figueiredo fight. And that was another one I was wrong on. I was wrong on a lot of fights because I kind of felt like Rob Font would be able to put a pace on on Davison, even though Rob Font does get hit a lot and kind of gets hurt a lot in fights, but he's usually durable and he's usually puts a lot of punches and bunches, volume striker, and he had a big reach advantage, longer, taller. But Figueiredo showed that maybe that 135, he took his power up with him. One thing with Davison, he's had a lot of power, and that just makes you think like he was killing himself to get down to 125. That's an extra 10 pounds. The guy walks around 165, 160. He's only like 5'4", 5'5"-ish. He's a shorter guy, but he's got some muscle and he's got a lot of explosiveness to him, power, jiu-jitsu-wise, whatever he does. He's a sniper in there. And I was really surprised at how good he looked. It went to the decision, but Figueiredo, I mean, he hurt him a few times on the feet, was able to kind of impose his will, got a takedown. I mean, did a lot in there that showed that, yeah, maybe he could be okay in this division. Like, I thought it was a bad matchup because I thought, it's kind of similar to a Brandon Moreno, just a lot of pace, but Font don't have the power, I think, to really get guys off of him or keep them honest. And I think that's the one issue that Figueiredo does have a chin. He's tough, and he counters. He's, like I said, he's a sniper out there, hits hard. And, shout out. I mean, congrats to Figueiredo. A successful 135 bantamweight debut. And he'll have to get a top opponent next to see. He's going to climb that ladder fast right there just because his name, former champ. And it's good to see a fresh matchup for him because 4 straight fights against Brandon Moreno. Now we got, you got a whole new division that he could attack and make another name for himself. I would love to see Figueiredo and Chito. I think that's a great fight. I mean, Chito's obviously fighting against O'Malley in this next fight. And even if Chito gets that win, I mean, Davison with his name and, championship status in another division, he'll be able to maybe 1 or 2 fights away, especially if he does something like crazy. I could see him getting in there. The taller guys, maybe like the Sandhagens and those guys might give him problems, but then again, he's got so much power, man. You never know. He can put anyone's lights out. Good jiu-jitsu game. He's leveled up his wrestling with Henry Cejudo and that camp. I mean, I don't know if he's still training with them, but he was for a while. And, just the sky's the limit for him. Let's see what's up. I mean, I'm excited to see now, what's going to happen with Davison after this fight. And then we came to Jalen Turner, Bobby Green, 2 Fontana / San Bernardino natives representing the IE. Short notice fight for Jalen. We all know Bobby Green was supposed to fight Dan Hooker as a main event in a 5-rounder. This went to they cut this to 3 rounds because of the weight cut, short notice, and Jalen Turner size. He had like a 6-inch reach advantage here, 6'2", 6'3". Bobby Green that was a problem that he had to solve, was that reach advantage. And I just think the hands-down style, maybe this wasn't the fight for that, especially with Jalen Turner, who throws a lot of kicks. He throws a lot of high kicks and no wind-up, a lot of teaks to the body. And, he's got long limbs. They don't call him a tarantula for nothing. I mean, this guy is just he could be John Jonesing everyone in this division if that's the path he chooses, but he's got power. So, I mean, he's got devastating power. And unfortunately for Bobby Green, he found that out the hard way. I mean, shout out to Bobby Green, did his thing, that tried to get in his head a little bit. And but Jalen Turner just looked laser focused from the opening bell. Like you could tell he was on a mission. He looked good. And I felt like he would be the strongest for the first round and a half. And then maybe he might start fading just because of the gas tank, short notice fight, weight cut, all that. But Bobby Green, I mean, he had to get into his range with the boxing. That was a huge problem he had to solve with that reach. And there was a few times in the first, right off the bat, I only went the first round, but where, Jalen threw a couple high kicks and Bobby with his hands down was able to block him. But it's just all it takes is 1 split second if you don't react in time to get knocked out. And Jalen landed some big shots right off the bat, and right from the opening start, he started landing some shots, keeping Bobby honest, and landed a big right hand that stumbled him, that kind of wobbled him a little bit, and then followed up with some vicious punches right on the money. And the referee definitely fucked up on this fight. The referee should have stopped it. The way Bobby Green fell face first down, he could have stepped it right there. As the first knockdown, as soon as he dropped, the way he fell, he didn't have his legs under him. He went straight, face first type thing. That should have been stop the fight, but the referee let him go get again. He was sitting laying on his back, just basically laying on his stomach, just like this, not really defending himself. Just I don't know if he was out, then got woken back up and then put out again. But that was brutal and scary to watch and ugly to watch. Because I got a lot of love for Bobby Green. And it's like, I was like yelling at the TV, like stop the fight type shit. What the fuck you doing, ref? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think everybody was. Seen MMA Guru's freaking his rant on that. Like, what are you doing? Like, like he's dead. And I was even thinking like, dude, because the second time, because he kind of went limp, and then it seemed like he wasn't limp again. Like he got woken back up, and then it looked like he went dead limp again. And that was scary. That's one thing we don't want to see, especially for a guy that we're fans of. But either way, you don't want to see anyone get killed in there or anything like that. And that was just a brain fart, dumbass move by the ref. And like these guys should be freaking reprimanded, or they should definitely be like something. There should be something set in place, fined or whatever. Fighters get fined for certain things. Refs need to get fined for their bullshit calls. I mean, I get it. It's the toughest job in the world. If he would have stopped it too early, people might have been pissed off and complaining about that. Even the fighters might have been, let me go out on my shield type thing. But when you're just face down, looking limp and not really defending yourself and not even seeing what's coming, and you got like a savage or killer like Jalen Turner dropping bombs, in the first round, I mean, that's just stop the damn fight. Your job is to protect. It's the toughest job out there. And the toughest job in sports is refereeing a fight, because it's all just kind of what you see in there. You got to be laser focused, but at the same time, it's like your job is to protect the fighter. And that referee did not do that. Should be fired. Get him the hell out of there. Go take his ass back somewhere else. Go back to, fucking reffing soccer or something. I don't know. But yeah, that was horrible. That was really sad to watch and scary to watch. Hopefully full and speedy recovery for Bobby Green. He's going to have to take some time off after that. 6 months off at least. Sky's the limit for Jalen Turner. I mean, this is number 12 against number 13. And Jalen came off the close loss against Dan Hooker that could have went either way, a war, a brutal freaking war. And that was kind of the reason why Dan Hooker couldn't even make this fight, because the after effects of that war between Jalen Turner. So they could run that back, but I honestly think Jalen Turner should just look past that. Maybe Bobby Green and Dan Hooker could run that back, because Dan Hooker had a surgery, so he's going to be out for some time. Obviously, Bobby Green's going to need some time to regroup and recover. They could come back and do it later at a later date. And I think Jalen Turner just got a shout out at maybe a number 6 to 9 type, matchup right there. Usually UFC does winners versus winners, losers versus losers. So I'm not sure exactly. I'll have to make another video on that. Who's potentially next for these guys. But that'll bring us to the main event, Beneil Dariush against Arman Tsarukyan. And like, I honestly thought this was going to be the fight. I was kind of like, since this was the main event, moved to the main event, I was kind of, I don't know how great this fight's going to be. It's kind of two grappling heavy, fighters. Arman's wrestling heavy big time. He does have some power, obviously, we've seen, but Dariush, he's more of a jiu-jitsu guy with some nice kickboxing from like Rafael Cordero, so he has good timing, good all that, and just really good jiu-jitsu, like no-gi world champion a couple times. And so it was like, all right, this could be an interesting matchup. Well, anyway, Arman Tsarukyan landed a knee, followed up by a right hand right on the side of the dome, ear, head area, temple, knocking Beneil out cold, and some follow-up shots that were on the money, power shots. Another, you can't say slow stoppage, but kind of, because the way Beneil felt back, he was kind of like his legs open. It's kind of like a jiu-jitsu thing where like it's almost like you're gonna have your legs open, like have an open, like a guard, like an open guard type thing. It's just like an instinct thing. You put your legs up to just kind of keep your opponent away. So he fell that way. He fell down on, like when he first got dropped. So he was still a little bit there, and his head didn't hit the mat. It was kind of still here, and he had his legs up. And then Arman came in with some finishing shots that knocked Beneil Dariush out cold, and he was out for a while. Like, they literally had to like zoom in, just like on Arman, what he was doing, because they didn't want to show like what was going on with Beneil, because he was out for a while. Like, he was out where, like, literally it was a long time. Like, it was like a minute or something at least, just out. And then they finally started getting him to his stool, and he definitely got concussed there. And it's sad to see with Beneil, because he was on an 8-fight win streak, had a tough loss against Charles, where Charles kind of went there and dominated. Like, he could have had a title shot before that. Now it's like 2 straight losses, 2 straight finished losses, get you finished. So, I mean, what's next for him? He's not going to be in that picture anymore, Like, he's going to be more of a gatekeeper maybe. But he definitely have to take some time off now anyway. So we can't really, you can't judge that, like what's next for him yet, because he's gonna have to take a lot of time off after that, reevaluate, reassess, let his brain heal. That was serious blows, seriously knocked out. And Arman, he's definitely moving on up to up the rankings. Right back he gave Islam pretty much the toughest fight besides the first Volk fight, where it was grappling heavy. He actually took Islam down. He did a lot of good things in there. Gave him a really tough scrap. So I would like to see that again. I think he's still going to be a couple fights away, because we have other people in line right now, like Justin Gaethje and the Charles Oliveira rematch. So we're not sure where that Islam fight's going to be, but maybe another 2 fights or so down the, if he keeps on this winning path, he's definitely going to be right there to challenge for that bout again. And I can't wait to see that matchup. Exciting night of fights overall. I mean, we had bare knuckle as well. We had Ryan Garcia fight. He got the TKO, or the knockout win, I should say. And the bare knuckle fight was epic. I'll talk about that a little bit. You had Eddie Alvarez versus, it was for the King of Violence belt. Mike Platinum Perry against Eddie Alvarez, the Underground King. And it was a freaking war for 2 rounds. Eddie Alvarez was actually putting him on and piecing him up in the first round. Definitely Eddie Alvarez won the first round. He was throwing a lot of good, nice double jabs or a jab left, and just being quicker with it and really piecing up Mike, because Mike just comes in like a zombie, just hands up and just eats punches, no head movement. He's going to take whatever you have, and he's going to keep throwing his bombs. And that's kind of what happened in the second round. It came out, the first round was just freaking nuts, like just nonstop action. Eddie Alvarez had to do that. He had to kind of stay on the outside and just use his speed and speed his power and just kind of light him up from the outside. Second round comes, it's more of the same. Alvarez was doing pretty good, but Mike Perry you could still, he was starting to get his rhythm, starting to come on stronger, and started just landing some bombs, and they were trading some exchanges. One exchange, he lands a right hand. Eddie Alvarez goes against the ropes, almost hold him up at that point, bounces off. It's a huge shot, gets so much damage done in that second round. Like, Mike Perry was busted up as well. Like his face looked like straight up like Wolverine or something, or like a half werewolf, like transitioning or something, he was lumped up everywhere. And that was Alvarez just piecing him up. But it only took they're only 2-minute rounds. So it was really like the second round where Perry did all his damage. And there's only like a few crazy punches that just busted up Eddie Alvarez's face. Like he broke his orbital, and that thing swelled up, and literally Eddie Alvarez didn't even look like Eddie Alvarez. He looked like the guy from the Power Slap that just, that guy who just lumped up, where he was just like, he looked like that guy. He could have been brothers with him on that one, just the way side of his face swelled up. And I don't know if it was on Eddie Alvarez or his corner. I mean, it was one of those things like, do you want to fight 3 more rounds with a broken orbital against a freaking gladiator, warrior, freaking killer like Mike Perry? I mean, damn, dude. Like, that's what Mike Perry's just like, can I just get someone to finish the fight? Because these guys, but that's what's so brutal about bare knuckle. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, it's Luke Rockhold, a light heavyweight, he knocked his teeth out and made him quit after the first round, or not even during the fight in the first round. Same thing here. Like, Eddie Alvarez is a legend, 3-time, I think, a 2-time Bellator champ, I believe, had an insane streak at one point to him. Couple epic wars with Mike Chandler, goes to the UFC, wins a bout there, takes out Justin Gaethje on his way up. And Anthony Pettis, like a bunch of names, And so that's crazy that he was able to do that. But bare knuckle was just a whole different animal. You got nothing on these, those fat knuckles cuts, and just like Mike Perry was definitely built for this. Like he is the face of bare knuckle. He is the most savage fighter right now out there. Huge. Everyone's watching it. Anytime he fights, it's must-watch TV. No one's missing that. And I'm anxious to see what's next for him. He had a couple call-outs. I think he called out Anthony Showtime Pettis, which he just beat Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing match. So, the legendary Roy Jones. So, that could be an intriguing matchup. I don't know if, I definitely Anthony Pettis has some hands, but I don't know if he wants to get his face like busted like that. Anytime anyone's in there with Mike Perry, man, you're going to get brutalized, and he could take a shot and just might stagger back, just come right back. He's like freaking Michael Myers out there, just keeps coming, and just ain't no stopping him. Like, a guy, he's great on the mic with his call-outs. He is the king of violence for sure. And, that was going to wrap it up. That's all I got for now. Like, subscribe, and, see you guys next time.